the closed session. The citizens' comments are allowed. If there's anyone here that wishes to make comment as it relates to the closed session item. Comments from the public are limited to items listed on the agenda. Speakers will be allowed 3 minutes. Please begin your comments by stating and spelling your name and providing your city of residence. If there's anyone who wishes to call in, you may do so at 559-366-1849. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to make a comment as it relates to the closed session item? Seeing and hearing none, and has anyone called in, Melissa? I will close citizen comments. We will adjourn to closed session for discussion of the following: public employee performance evaluation, Government Code Section 54957. The employee is our city manager, so we will go to closed session. At this time, we'll reconvene from closed session. I'll let Mr. Zamora indicate the closed session report.
And nothing to report on time there.
Thank you very much. We will now adjourn the closed session. We will now call to order the regular meeting of the Tulare City Council. If everyone will please rise, I will read the Pledge of Allegiance. Reverend Susan Pinner will do the invocation. Ready? Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Would you join me in prayer? Heavenly Father, we thank you for tonight. Father, I thank you for the city of Tulare, and I thank you for all of the wonderful and amazing things that are happening and new businesses that are coming, new adventures and housing booming, Lord. You are doing great things in our city. And tonight, Father God, I ask that you just bless our city council, each one of the department heads, that you be with them. I thank you for the wisdom that you pour out upon them as they lead our city and direct the direction our city is going. And Lord, I thank you for their heart and their willingness to serve our city to such a capacity that they just give so unselfishly all the time. So Father, thank you for tonight. Thank you for every person and every household that is represented here. Lord, and I ask you to bless each and every person in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
At this time, we'll have item number 9, proclamations and recognitions. Number 1 will be spotlight on excellence, employee recognition. I'll turn that over to you, Mark.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As council is aware, and hopefully our public is aware, each quarter management team considers multiple candidates in the city city employees who have provided exemplary performance, something above and beyond. And so we are here this evening to recognize such an employee. I'm going to ask Tricia Whitfield to come forward and make this presentation.
So I get the privilege tonight to honor a public works employee for the spotlight on excellence. So I do apologize in advance. I tricked him in coming, thinking he was going to give a presentation on our FOG program. I'm saving him from the presentation, so he'll get to give it to the BPU. But Gary Karras, I'd like you to come up. You are the public works employee for the spotlight on excellence. So Gary works for Public Works Department. You can come around this way so they can see you. Gary has been with us just under 5 years. He is the environmental compliance inspector out at the wastewater treatment plant. What exactly does he do? Gary maintains essentially our pre-treatment program. So as you know, we have big industrial customers within the city of Tulare, our dairy processing plants, Reese Foods, some of those to name a few. We have 14 industrial processing plants in Tulare. Gary monitors those plants daily. He does their permit, the billing, and everything in between. Like I said, Gary has been with us for just under 5 years, and the amount of work that he has put into the program is absolutely amazing. So before he came, I was doing the billing for our industrial pretreatment every month, and we had just our operators going out to each of the plants. Gary has completely organized our program, gotten in compliance with the state. And on his own, more recently, he has changed our software program, which is huge because that includes all of our monthly samples, daily samples from the industries, their annual permits, and all of their information from years past. More recently, Gary, on his own, has decided to implement the FOG program within town with our commercial customers such as restaurants, delis, anything that really puts any types of fat, oil, or grease into our system. So Gary he's just a go-getter. He doesn't sit still. He does everything on his own initiative, and he's just been a wonderful employee for the city of Tulare, and just the model of just someone that works hard and just does his best every day. So it is my honor to recognize Gary, and I think you're relieved that you didn't have to give your presentation.
I was all ready for it. I noticed and
So I tricked him that he had to come in and give the council an update on the FOG program, which he may come at another date. But anyway, I just wanted to present this plaque to you.
Wow.
So
The right one.
yes, I did. I made sure. And actually today is Gary's birthday too. So he's spending his birthday with us. The plaque says, on behalf of the city of Tulare, we are pleased to present the certificate to Gary Karras in recognition of your superior level of commitment, partnership, accountability, positive attitude, and exceptional customer service, setting a positive example for other city employees and performing above and beyond for the organization, community, and citizenry we serve. Congratulations. So this exemplifies Gary. He truly is an employee we want to recognize, and we want to represent the city.
Well, thank you.
So.
Well, you got me on.
And then you also get this. And I will give you the plastic.
Excellent. Thank you.
So there you go. Thank you.
Gary, on behalf of the city council and the city of Tulare, congratulations and keep up the good work. Now we'll move on to proclamations. The first one will be a proclamation to support our local Chamber of Commerce for Chamber of Commerce Day on October 19th, 2002. I would invite Donette and whoever's here on behalf of the Chamber. I see Lucy and is Susan here also. I thought you were just here to lead us in the prayer, Susan. You can come on up. Did I leave anybody out? And you can come up. I'm sorry I didn't need to. You're sitting away from them, so I. We as a community are fortunate that we have not only a vibrant and active Chamber of Commerce, but we also have a vibrant and active Chamber of Commerce that works well with the city of Tulare. And it's been that way for a long period of time, but especially these days, our efforts as it relates to the incubator program, or what's it called now? Not the
Business Accelerator.
Business Accelerator is an example of that. And annually, October 19th or thereabouts is considered a local Chamber of Commerce Day. And we would be remiss in the city of Tulare if we didn't recognize that. I was at first going to have that closer to our meeting on October 18th, but the problem with that is that Donette wouldn't have been able to be here because she's going to Hawaii, believe it or not. So isn't that correct?
It is very correct. First
Oh.
there.
A well-deserved vacation. I hope you go to Hawaii because that's the true Hawaii when you go. But you have a plan.
Yeah.
It's Maui. Okay. That being said, whereas Chambers of Commerce strive to address the community's top challenges and greatest opportunities through bold leadership and innovative problem solving. Whereas Chambers of Commerce foster stronger, more vibrant communities by advocating for priorities to promote economic prosperity, boost quality of life, and create access to meaningful employment and opportunity for all residents. And whereas Chambers of Commerce are champions of communities, serving as trusted resources for businesses, residents, and other stakeholders. And whereas Chambers of Commerce create catalytic community partnerships to build resilient economies and promote community-wide prosperity. And whereas the Tulare Chamber of Commerce has served the greater Tulare area for over 138 years, and whereas the Tulare Chamber of Commerce is the voice of Tulare business, representing more than 650 members, boasting in excess of 10,000 employees. And whereas the Tulare Chamber of Commerce has excelled at delivering programming of economic and workforce development, youth and adult leadership, tourism and community promotion, and meaningful event execution. Now, therefore, we, the City Council of the City of Tulare, do hereby proclaim October 19th, 2022, as Support Your Local Chamber of Commerce Day, and encourage residents of the greater Tulare area to learn more about the Tulare Chamber of Commerce and its impact and how to support our community's business. Dated this 4th day of October, 2022, signed by all 5 of us on the City Council.
Thank you.
Donette. I've never seen you shy away from a microphone.
I know. Thank you so much. And thank
Come on
you.
over here. We have
This is a few members of our
Introduce your member.
team. Yes, we have from our board of directors, Susan Hennard with River Valley Church. We have our incoming chair, Lucy Van Syok, superintendent for Tulare Joint Union High School District. And we have our vice chair of finance, Leanne Hackle with the International Agri Center. So we are so excited to be here. We really appreciate the partnership that we get to enjoy with the city of Tulare and with the community of Tulare. It's definitely a labor of love for all of us here with what we get to do for our businesses and our community at large. And we also invite you, because I'm never going to miss a commercial opportunity. So this Friday night, we're going to be putting a spotlight on COS Tulare campus at Crush Party. So come join us. Tickets online at tullarechamber.org. And just thank you for the support that we get, from our city. We work with a lot of different departments, and we appreciate that we all work together hand in hand for the betterment of our community. So thank you so much.
Get together with there.
Yes, come on, Mr. Mayor.
And if my wife
Okay,
goes,
come on.
while my wife's at Rotary tomorrow, she can buy 2 tickets for Friday night.
Yes,
Yes, you can. I have wine tree tickets.
Y'all need to quit talking. Okay.
I do want to give an opportunity to other council members if they wish, starting with Mr. Wood, to say anything concerning our chamber.
I think the proclamation says it all. But really with that and that's encouragement, I think Donette, really appreciate you being an excellent statesman for our businesses in the community and advocating for all around just economics and positive synergy of what we do in town. So Donette, thank you for your leadership. And I think you and your board do a great job representing our local business issues.
So it didn't state it all afterwards. After all, good. Okay. Vice Mayor.
I'd also like to thank the board for their work. I know how hard they work in the different components of the chamber, and I always call Donette the CEO on steroids, because this woman does so much. Really, I think the chamber is her baby, and she really loves this community and loves the work that she does, and it's a pleasure to work with all of you.
Jose.
I also wanted to echo those, as my time on the council, I've had the opportunity to work with Donette on different capacities, and especially as mayor during the pandemic, and when he worked with her board to help us facilitate the process of spending some of the money we got to help our local businesses. So Donette was there front and center, creative in terms of how we get out there, trying to work diligently with other groups. I don't think it was easy to try to give out money to folks who needed it, and I appreciate the leadership and the things that you guys are doing to maybe support our small business. So congratulations.
Steve.
Echo what the other council member said. In addition, though, I think the fact that you increase the membership of the chamber by such large numbers shows that finally people are finally really understanding the works of the chamber and now getting on board with it. I don't see those numbers.
And how did she increase? How did she increase membership? who was,
The green tea.
what was I called?
Yes, yes, the Godfather. The membership development.
Just good.
It was a lot of fun.
Anything, Mark?
I think Mayor's better best.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Thanks so much.
And lastly, we have a proclamation here recognizing Fire Prevention Week. And I'd like the chief to come down so we could be prepared when I get done reading this, chief, to say a few words concerning Fire Prevention Week, okay? Which I'm sure you're prepared for.
Yeah, always.
Always. This is Fire Prevention Week, October 9th through the 15th, 2022, and we as a council want to present this proclamation to our chief. Whereas the city of Tulare is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting this city. And whereas fire is a serious public safety concern, both locally and nationally, and homes are the locations where people are at greatest risk from fire. And whereas home fires caused 2,580 civilian deaths in the United States in 2020, according to the National Fire Protection Association, and fire departments in the United States responded to 356,500 home fires. Whereas smoke alarms sense smoke well before you can, alerting you to the danger in the event of fire, in which you may have as little as 2 minutes to escape safely. And whereas working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in reported home fires in half, whereas the city of Tulare residents should be sure everyone in their home understands the sounds of the smoke alarms and knows how to respond. Whereas the city of Tulare residents who have planned and practiced home fire escape plan, a home fire escape plan, are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire. Whereas city of Tulare residents will make sure their smoke and carbon monoxide alarms meet the needs of all their family members, including those with sensory and physical disabilities. Whereas the city of Tulare first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through fire prevention education. Whereas the city of Tulare residents that are responsive to public education measures are better able to take personal steps to increase their safety from fire, especially in their homes. And whereas the 2022 Fire Prevention Week theme, Fire Won't Wait, Plan Your Escape, effectively serves to remind Tulare residents it is important to have a home fire escape plan. Now, therefore, we, the City Council of the City of Tulare, do hereby proclaim the week of October 9th through 15th, 2022 as Fire Prevention Week in the City of Tulare, and urge all the residents of Tulare to plan and practice a home fire escape for the Fire Prevention Week in 2022 and support the many public safety activities and efforts of the Tulare Fire Department, dated this 4th day of October, 2022.
That was a
Thank
lot.
you. I know it was a lot.
you, sir.
Melissa does a very good job on that. So
Thank you. sir. I
very
appreciate
good.
it.
If you'd say a few words.
So just a quick brief history on the Fire Prevention Week. On October 8th through October 10th of 1871 was the Great Chicago Fire. During that time, 17,000 buildings burnt on the southwest side of the city. Approximately 300 people were killed and roughly $200 million in damage was caused. In today's dollar figure, that'd be about $4.4 billion. Since 1922, the National Fire Protection Association enacted the Fire Prevention Week to help spread a specific awareness for that incident and to make sure that the public knew that one time a year to place a little special emphasis on fire prevention, whether it be planning your escape, whether it be checking your smoke detectors, whether it be making notifications to 911 and just taking response acts of how to use a fire extinguisher. Present day, Fire Prevention Week is now celebrated every year during the week of October 9th, and it is the longest running public health observation in our country. And in 1925, Calvin Coolidge proclaimed that the National Fire Prevention Week occur on the October 9th through the 10th. So that's about it.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. You got it. Thanks. Appreciate it.
You want this?
So while the mayor makes his way up, I just wanted to let the public know that I heard this legend, tenacity and how much work is done to help our local small businesses in the Chamber of Commerce. I just wanted to share that information for those that may not know that there is a legend known as Dennis Madero. That's a great job for local businesses.
Thank you for the compliment. As long as it wasn't totally sarcastic.
It was true, because I worked hard with Terry, but we didn't get there, so.
Okay, we'll move on to citizen comment. I picked this up in the right place. This is the time for citizens to comment on subject matters not on the agenda within the jurisdiction of the Tulare City Council. The council members ask that you keep your comments brief and positive. The council cannot legally discuss or take official action on citizen request items that are introduced tonight. This is also the time for citizens to comment on items listed under the consent calendar or to request an item from the consent calendar be pulled for discussion purposes. Comments related to public hearing or general business items will be heard at the time the public hearing is open for comment or the general business item is discussed. Fairness to all who wish to speak, each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes with a maximum time of 15 minutes per item unless otherwise extended by council. Please begin your comments by stating your name and providing residence. If you wish to call in, the telephone number to do so is 559-366-1849. Is there anyone in our chambers who wishes to come forward and give comment? I have no yellow cards. Is there anyone? This is strange. There's no one here to give public comment. Has anyone called in? We will keep this meeting going. I will close citizen comments. Do we have any communications?
No, sir.
None. Let's move on to the consent calendar. We have 7 items. Does anyone wish to pull any one of the 7 items? Hearing none, do I have a motion on the 7 items?
Mr. Mayor, council move that we adopt the consent calendar items 1 through 7.
Right, second. Second, Mr. Harrell. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, all 7 matters pass on the consent calendar. We'll now move to the next item, which is scheduled presentations, and this will be a community and economic development update. I don't see Alexis in the audience, so that means Tracy, you're doing this. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, that's correct.
Thank you very much. If you want to wait while I go back and give you a little more time, I skipped mayor council reports of items of interest. So my full call. Very good. So let's go through the various items. Since the last council meeting, I attended the election forum on the 26th. I don't want to miss anything here. Apologize. We had a meeting with Paul Atlas came to the last meeting. We had a meeting with Mark and myself and some of the business owners down in the area where the temporary shelter is going to be located. And I think the best description of that meeting was it was robust. A robust meeting would be a fair.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we did come out of that, I think, with a better understanding of what we were dealing with. I also attended the election forum on the 26th, and kind of an interesting story, because anytime I go into a theater, I can't help myself. I want to eat popcorn. So I got popcorn and a drink with my wife, and we sat there and had popcorn. And I didn't realize that the channel 47 was taking pictures of select people in the audience. And that night, my wife gets a phone call from her brother saying he saw myself and his sister, my wife, eating popcorn as part of this feature. I'm sitting there stuffing popcorn. That went forward. That's what happens. That's what happens. Anyway, on the 28th, I attended the International Agri Center board meeting. And on last Sunday, I was at a dinner in Atwater with the president of Portugal. And that was very interesting because it was well attended by our Congress members who are of Portuguese descent and several others. And it was a robust, I use that word again, a robust discussion about affairs, world affairs. And a couple of nights later, he threw out the first pitch at the Giant Bean in San Francisco, and sat next to the owner, one of the owners, Larry there. And so it was interesting, very interesting under the service. And that brings us to this weekend today. So I've had a busy 2 weeks. Vice Mayor, what I did,
I'll tell you right now.
I wasn't able to go to go too much on my. But obviously the vice mayor.
We did the Hispanic Heritage Celebration and Reception on September the 24th, which was really a delightful event. I could see a lot of really adult children and young people dancing Hispanic dances. It was really fun, but they were there as well.
As was I.
I said the mayor and I. Yeah. And then I just, in honor of the fire department, I attended the fire station family day. He asked me to wear it. Family day. And that was really fun. And also the National Night Out this evening, I received this honorary hat from the fire department. So it was a really well attended event.
I think just to be clear, as well, tonight, it was great to be at the National Night Out to our fire department, police department staff, and all the vendors in groups. Great informational community gathering. As well, over this last period of time, Assemblyman Mathis hosted a Veterans Resource Fair on Friday night. I attended that event. It was good to learn a bit more about a diversity of veteran-specific resources. As well as attended the Purple Party, which is the Family Resource Center, which provides many, of course, services for families in Tulare County. Their event on Friday. And with that too is attending the League of Cities with our city manager to discuss regional issues with that meeting. So that's my report.
What's that?
Also had the opportunity to attend the Historical Society event to honor Latino Heritage Month. So appreciate that. The invitation. I've also participated and dropped by the Altura event. So last Saturday that they had at Zumal Park, and of course National Night Out. I appreciate the chief and all his staff putting together a great event. A lot of great information out there. Folks were there. I also wanted to mention that in regards to the emergency shelter that we voted on, I did have the opportunity to go out there. I didn't have a chance to meet with Mr. Atlas and others, but I did go out there at night and kind of surveyed the area in terms of taking notes as to where might be able to put in lighting and a number of things that I shared with the mayor as well. And I briefly with our city manager, so I look forward to that discussion and want to make sure that we move forward as best we can with that shelter. I did also attend the election forum where I had the opportunity to learn with a lot of information about Measure Y, and obviously I'm very supportive of Measure Y. And I asked folks out there in the city of Tulare to also consider that support on November the 8th. Also, did have a meeting with the Tulare County Regional Transit Agency Board. I know tonight there's an item on the agenda, so and our executive directors here tonight as well. But that meeting was very important. All of our directors worked very diligently with our staff to make sure that our regional transit agency moves forward. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later on this evening. And then finally, just wanted to thank all the staff for addressing a big sort of infrastructure project that is occurring both the Vice Mayor's district and mine on the border off of Pleasant to the west. You know, there's been a lot of work there done over the last months. It's coming to an end. It looks like it's coming to an end soon in terms of it being completed, but I appreciate the work that's being done to address the dirt and all the things that are kicked up in any construction site. And we'll have a new street signal there soon. So I'm very excited about that. And so those are a couple of things, Mr. Mayor, just wanted to mention. Thanks.
Very good, Mr. Harold.
Yeah, downtown association, and I worked with Manny on a couple of food bidder truck issues that were successfully taken care of. Fire Department's Family Fun Day, Healthcare District Board of Directors, and the Fire Department Open House, and then the PDS celebration on Sunday.
Very good, thank you. Now we'll go back to depends upon which agenda you're looking at. I apologize for the confusion. Go ahead.
That's okay. Councilmember Isherwood, did you give an update? Oh, okay. Thank you.
You think I would leave you out for that? I've learned my lesson. That's happened in the past. I'm glad you're monitoring.
Anytime. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. It's my pleasure tonight to give you an economic development update. I think it's fitting for me to give an update tonight on the 1-year anniversary of our new city manager. I could have added many, many more slides to this presentation with all the markets brought to staff, but I think from an executive team standpoint, we can all testify to the fact that we've been very, very busy this last year. So I just kind of wanted to start off with the project status on with our ARPA funds. I'd like to thank Nick and his team for providing some updated information. Suzumal Park, 30% design reviews complete. We're out with an RFQ for the promoter. Mid-October, we're looking at 75% design review, final bids, documentation by the end of the year, and then hopefully January, February, we'll be bidding in the award. And then construction is going to occur March through October, and with the final punch list and the final approval back in October or November of 2023. I will say that I have received numerous inquiries about this project, and all of them very positive and very excited to see the transformation of the park. The downtown master plan, we had a kickoff meeting with the consultant in July. We had a walking tour. Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor, for attending with staff and John Harmon from the TDA, as well as myself. It was one of the hottest days we had in August, but we managed to start at 1 p.m. and take 3 hours to walk the downtown. Staff worked on data collection for the consultant in September, and right now we're working on some dates and times for some community meetings. After that, the consultant has requested that we narrow down the meeting to a stakeholder meeting and then an elected official presentation by the end of this year. Downtown Building Rehabilitation Grant Program, I'm happy to report that the committee has made their first conditional recommendation and award to Adrian Herrera for his vacant building at 147 South K Street. Adrian submitted a successful application, provided us with all the required documentation. He is working on building plans right now. He's renovating the building to a first floor tap room with a retail component of what he calls a golf lounge, an arcade. The second story is going to be apartment living. And then he decided to go forth with the rooftop lounge. He's going to be submitting by the end of this year for building permits and hopeful to be completed next fall.
I could ask how many apartments?
4 units. As was brought up with Donette, the business accelerator is moving along, 60% design review complete. We met or staff met with the chamber on the interior finishes. 100% final design review in December, out to bid in January. February, March, we'll have an award, and then same schedule, similar to Zumwalt Park. We're going to start the construction March or April with completion by the end of next year. As Mr. Segala has referenced, the city, even though this wasn't ARPA funding wasn't used for this particular project, it is the first step in reaching that final permanent shelter phase with the ARPA funds. Council did approve the purchase of that 2 acres. Staff's been working pretty diligently on a site, I think that, or a site plan, and we're going to be bringing that back to council on the 18th for a maintenance and operations plan. I will say Mike Miller has done a fantastic job in laying this out and getting agreement from all the departments on how this should flow. So part of this is an economic development effort in that it's hopefully going to reduce the impacts on homelessness to the downtown, residential areas, and other public-private areas, as well as providing a greater safety to those that are experiencing homelessness. The long-term plan, which you're well aware of with the ARPA funds, is the 200-bed shelter facility, 24 hours, 365 days a year. We're working on right now and internally an RFQ, RFP for an operator. Again, I attended the community meeting that was met with great positive results on the city's short-term and long-term efforts to manage this issue. So other notable projects. This one I'm particularly very excited about. City was approached by CA Ventures, which is a company that's headquartered out of Chicago. They have purchased about 80 acres on East Page Avenue. They have submitted for site plan review for 2 about 550,000 square feet facilities. They are a worldwide company that has clients in large distribution, shipping, same-day delivery type tenants that are looking to ship on the western US. They are coming hopefully to us with building plans and approval by the end of this year. New commercial development. Everybody's been pretty excited about the Panera Bread. They are going to open January of 2023. That's on Prosperity next to Raising Cane's. Crumble Cookie submitted their TIs it's the vacant T-Mobile building that was in the Target shopping center. And then Panda Express is going to be opening in spring of 2023 behind Family Dollar on Bardsley. The unique thing about this Panda, they're keeping the other one open, but this one has a drive-through. The new cannabis dispensaries, Valley Pure, will be opening at the end of this month, and Token Farms in December. I think we'll start seeing return on investment with sales tax generation probably by the fourth quarter of next year. This, I wanted to just highlight the permit activity. This is calendar year to date. Most notably, the single family residential building permits had 93 as of this time last year. We're now at 246. So I think we're headed towards a record year for building permits that we've had since 2008. And of course, the new interchange, out to bid September of this year and still on target for opening in 2025. One of the economic development projects that I'll be working on in the very near future is working with a consultant to do a South Tulare marketing plan, so we can make sure that we plan way ahead for all of the available acreage that's going to be coming available with this interchange. And then as pending annexation, you've heard about this before, but Mr. Tour is moving forward. He finished his draft environmental document. There was a scoping meeting held on September 29th. There was no questions. There was really nobody showed up, but we are moving forward, and COS was included in that scoping document. So we are moving forward with them as part of this project. That's my update. If you have any questions or comments.
The plan is to have COS as part of the annexation. Is that correct? What about the Machida property south of Mission Oak?
They're submitting on their own.
On their own.
Yeah, separately. Yes, and that's already underway.
Thank you. Any questions, Vice Mayor? Mr. Issue?
I think with the Achita property, we also have the Daily property to the east, which has to go on its own as well.
That's correct.
I think in January, later point in time, we'd maybe like to have some educational point that kind of it's like chain blocking of how properties have to be annexed and to be touching the city. And it's just kind of a curious situation, and that is so. Since it was presented, but I think when we come back to our strategic plan, we'd like maybe a little bit of a walkthrough of exactly how that process works.
Mr. Spell, anything?
Yes, the one thing that I don't know if you guys keep track of these numbers, but that's been a big thing that the state has been doing more to promote more housing is, do you keep track of any of the ADUs that occur in the city? I know where the permits for new housing, but somewhere along the line, maybe in the future, kind of share that, because I know that's been a big, well, it's been controversial in the sense of being able to build additional housing on your property, and obviously not sort of bypassing any parking rules or any core requirements. So I don't know if you guys keep track of those numbers and maybe in the future get an idea that, hey, in our city, there's been 100, 200 ADUs.
We got one application.
Just one? That's it?
That's it.
Wow.
There's a lot of inquiries though. And so I think you'll find that in our zoning code update too, that we're going to be addressing that.
Right, because I think it's I think, maybe along the lines of our city manager taking notes, maybe we have a discussion in January about that. Is there anything that we could do to encourage those, or is there anything we can do to change any ordinances? Because to just hear that only one, that's very low for our city. So, but thank you.
Mr. Harrell, anything?
No questions.
Very good. We will now move on to the next item on the agenda, which is general business. First of all, comments related to general business items are limited to 3 minutes per speaker for a maximum of 30 minutes per item, unless otherwise extended by the council. We have no public hearings tonight. We do have 3 general business items. If you wish to call in as we call these general business items after the presentation, please call 559-366-1849. The first item is seeking permission from council and authorizing the advance of cash in the amount not to exceed $1,500,000 to the Tulare County Regional Transit Authority, and authorizing the mayor to sign the cash advance and repayment agreement. I believe we have Diego, do you want to do this? We have a presentation, is that correct?
I think the city manager is going to handle this item there, and there's someone in the audience.
We have a presentation, and is that going to include the chair of the board? I mean, we might have him go first to give us an overview to deal with those. Okay. We already got it, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So council, you'll recall that back in 2020, the cities of Vancouver, Exeter, Farmersville, Lindsay, Porterville, Tulare, and Wood Lake came together along with the county of Tulare to create a regional transit system referred to or known as the Tulare County Regional Transit Authority. And that organization has taken over regional transit, which is our bus systems, throughout all those communities. And the belief at that time was that by doing a regional partnership, there could be sort of an efficiency gain. There could be perhaps the attraction of additional grant dollars for the operation of the system, so on and so forth. And to date, I believe it's fair to say that we are seeing some of the benefits of that regional collaboration. I think the challenge, though, that we're seeing, and Mr. Rich Tree is here, the executive director of the organization's in the audience. I think what he brought to our attention is that when the agency was formed, it really wasn't well capitalized. It didn't have reserve funds sitting in account. And why that's important is because this agency is largely dependent on grant funding. And if there's delays in receiving grant funds, then the organization runs into cash flow issues. And that's exactly what has happened here, that they're expecting to receive grants and that will help cover their operating costs. But in the meantime, before the grants show up, the bills continue to stack up. And so the agency reached out to all the cities in the county and said, we have this cash flow issue. How would you like to proceed? Their request was that the cities provide a contribution in accord or a relationship to the benefits that the organizations see from the partnership. Spelled out in the staff report, the city of Tulare's contribution would be $1.5 million. What we proposed and the other partner organizations have proposed, to my knowledge, and Mr. Tree will speak to this in a minute, is a loan. And so as the mayor mentioned, that we would provide a loan up to $1.5 million. There would be some interest associated with that loan in accord with the county's full rate. They would have until 2027 to repay the loan. They could borrow up to the full amount of money. They'll have to provide some evidence of need as they request those funds. And our proposal is that we would provide that money using LTF funds. And we have those dollars available, and we have historically used those dollars largely to support transit when the city was operating the bus system. We also use some of those dollars toward road project. And so should council elect to move forward and approve this agreement this evening, which management is recommending, then that would delay one of our projects. If we receive the funding, all the repayment of the funding after 2024, we would have to come back to council and provide other recommendations in terms of how to fund that project, if at all, or we may have to delay that project. But we do believe as management that this is the regional transit system was a commitment. It's early in the tenure of this organization. We recognize that it was not well capitalized to begin with, which was, I think, a mistake on all of our parts. So we're recommending to go forward with this loan. Staff's available to answer the questions, but I'd like Mr. Tree to come up, if you would, please, and address council and share if there's anything else that perhaps I didn't cover or anything you need to correct, and I'm sure they'll have questions for you.
Push the button or no need? Thank you, Mr. Mundell, Mayor, members of the council, Richard Tree, Executive Director of the Tulare County Regional Transit Agency. Really well summary of the events that has transpired over the last couple months. Really not an ideal situation for the newly formed Transit Authority, a joint powers agency essentially. But I think what happened is staff identified the challenges immediately and then went to work on trying to find a solution. We appreciate that the member agencies came to the table to figure out a plan that they all could agree on. That's 7 cities and the county to agree on a plan to establish this agency long term. We have agreed to also accept some accounting assistance from the county of Tulare. While I should note that because of the cash flow challenges, the agency has actually been unable to hire any employees. So it's kind of, we're running extremely thin on staffing, but the county has offered to step in and provide us some additional services, but then work with each member agency on a long-term plan. And we've already had some really great discussions with City Manager, Mr. Mundell, on how we can expedite the repayment, but also at the same time kind of reimagine public transportation here in the community of Tulare. And I think it's a really exciting time to really see the other modes of service that do in fact provide better mobility for not only seniors and disabled folks, but the general public, that they'll actually use it rather than drive their car.
And council, if I might just add one last thing, sorry, Mr. Mayor. The other conversation that we have had, and which alluded to this, is should council elect to proceed in this approach, we will be working with the organization to understand, how do we avoid this situation in the future? How do we right size our operations for Tulare, whatever that is and look like? And we'll come back to council. We are anticipating within the next 6 months or so with a plan, with an updated. These are the changes that are going to be made. This is how we think it'll serve our citizens. These are the decisions, some of the tough decisions we'll need to make. And I think Rick has also talked about probably having some public meetings where we can involve our citizenry and helping them to be part of this reimagining of the organization. So there's that dual commitment of not only repaying the funds, but also to work with the city to reimagine the program.
Very good. We're going to have give the public an opportunity to respond, and then I anticipate there will be some questions.
So, Mr. Mayor, if I could just a minute or two talk about some of the things that we're doing as a board, because, this is, the joint powers board. So that is, you want to do that now, or I can do that?
Do it now. At this point, I will open this up to any citizen comments. If you wish to comment on this agenda item, the telephone number is 559-366-1849. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, Melissa, anyone call in? No. Okay, I will afford you that opportunity at this point. Mr. Segala, are you going to supplement or ask questions?
No, I'm going to supplement some of the things just to let the council know. I appreciate the city manager meeting with our executive director and putting together a plan, and as was stated that, we took on this big responsibility and not understanding obviously that the cash flow was important. We have worked hard, the staff, Rich and others have worked hard to secure millions of dollars for community improvement projects or the capital improvement projects in terms of buses. And, we have new stations that are going to be built in Lindsay and Farmersville. We secured the grant just recently to allow for Tulare County residents to one day, be able to catch the high-speed rail. So there's a collaboration between Tulare and Kings County for all reaches of our county to be able to use that one day when it's built. But the other thing that I wanted to state was that, we did have a board meeting and we did approve these agreements with everyone except for us. Board that was already approved it. The county board of supervisors approved it. And we're the last council to get to that point. But we have made a very strong commitment from the board of directors to put together a finance sustainability committee that will work closely with the work that Mark mentioned in terms of some of the ideas so that we are able to move forward in terms of the financial part. We do have grants that are coming in. It's just a matter of that month between July 1st and the end of October where the cash flow needs to be done in order for us to be able to operate the transit system. But in the short 2 years that we've been in existence, we did a lot of commitments. We consolidated transit contracts. Different agencies had different contracts, so now we're under one operator. So we're very committed as a board to move forward and provide the best transit services possible. So I want to thank Rich and our staff, and TCAG has been very supportive of us, and the board of TCAG, and also to the city manager, our city manager, and others who are bringing this agreement to us tonight. So I really would consider my colleagues to to support this recommendation and continue to move our transit forward. Thank you.
We do have a telephone call, is that right? Austin?
Go ahead.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
My name is Alice Dorado, and I'm comment. I believe I do this as I'll come in. My comment is regarding the transportation. Transportation at this time due to the high skyrocketing gas. It's really very hard to get around town.
Melissa, has she hung up? Anybody, was it overall her approval to endorse our approval of this process? I think overall is what I got. Josh interpreted.
Yes.
That's
what I heard as well.
very good. We can go around. Vice Mayor, do you have any questions? Mr. Ishmael?
Yeah, I think quickly, I think to make sure I understand this, and first, my disclaimer, apologize if not sending kind of these questions ahead of time to staff, because I'd like to respect everything. In reading this agreement, as I understand this, is the question of course, this is, we have an annual bill, if you will, to the regional transit authority. And if I'm understanding the reading of this is that this 1.5 million is in addition to those. The second part of understanding of this presented as just to be transparent of what I think of as the agenda about. On item G, then in this is it says the principal amount of funds retained by PCRTA to the city under the name section shall be available to TCRTA. So as I understand that, does that mean that if they make a principal payment back to us in the time frame of this loan, that up to the maximum principal payment is still available for them to then back out?
I'll defer to the city attorney, what that interpretation.
Yes, that's the conversation that I had with Mr. Ishwood. So if 1.5 wasn't initially drawn, say only $500,000 was drawn, there would be $1 million left for them to draw. But if they paid the $500,000, the full 1.5 would be available. So very similar to the hospital loans. So if they had paid something back, it's extended. I think just through the end.
The term. It's like a revolving line of credit, is that correct?
The way it reads to me is that those requests can only be made through the end of the year. It's in that same section.
I appreciate, I think to just be honest, I have reservations about that, but I do support overall the context presented here and support, the notion of us taking these steps to support the regional transit authority. So, some of the details I have reservations about, but overall, just to clarify, I do support these steps and us taking this action.
Mr. Scott, I think you've already spoken. Mr. Harrell?
Nobody.
And I also view this as an advance and a loan in essence. As reserves are built up in the future by the agencies, the intent is we will be repaid this money, and we're talking about projects that won't be delayed in the event this repayment takes place. Fully confident that Mr. Segal will continue to be involved in the board itself and oversee what that's occurring, as well as whoever the CEO is. Mr. True will have a long tenure in this, so I'm in support of this also. If there's no other questions, I'll give Mr. Sadala the opportunity to make a motion.
Okay, Mr. Mayor and Council, so I'd like to move that the council.
You're missing something?
Yes, if there is going to be a motion to approve, can we make that subject to some clarifying changes? There's some language in here that on the whereas that refers to the resolution and that being passed by the council, you're actually going to approve the agreement. And so I just need to make a minor change on the first page.
That won't affect what's already been approved by other agencies, the other cities and the county.
No, because I know at least one of them did do it by resolution. So it just refers to, I'll explain. So the second whereas, the second from the bottom whereas on the first page refers to an adoption of a resolution. And the city's not going to be doing that tonight. So we just need to really modify that one paragraph.
Subject to minor changes by our city.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, got that. So, Mr. Mayor and Council, I'd like that the council authorize the advance of cash in the amount of not to exceed 1.5 million to the County Regional Transit Authority and authorize the mayor to sign the cash advance and repayment agreement and subject to any clarifications that needed to be made by the city attorney.
By the second. Second it. Vice Mayor seconds, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the matter passes 5-0. Okay, let's move on to item number 2. We're going to receive an update on the Tulare Beautiful project. I want to welcome code enforcement. I think everyone is here. Is that correct, Manny?
No, there's one missing.
One missing.
Yeah.
Darn. But it's a real pleasure to have all of you here. And I personally want to say while Manny's getting ready that I appreciate the work you do. Mr. Tree, thank you very much for coming. Thank you. Appreciate the work you do and the hard work you do because you're a very important colleague in our city. Now, you do what you can under trying circumstances. So I'll probably say something like that at the end, but go ahead, Manny. Sorry to take your time.
And if I would really quick, Council, I'm really happy that code enforcement is able to be here tonight because this is an ongoing effort of really involving, I mean, primarily the folks that are sitting in those chairs back there under Manny's leadership, but it involves a lot more than that. Manny's going to talk about that, but there's a number of departments that are helping with this effort. You know, code enforcement traditionally, historically has been a little bit more of a reactive function where citizens call complaints. We are in the process of transforming it into being more proactive. And in addition to that, we're adding this beautification component to it. So it's not just cleaning up issues of blight or code violations, but it's actually also improving the overall aesthetics and beauty of our community. That's hugely important because as we focus on our economic development efforts, if we're not taking care of our front yards and our backyards and our streets and so on and so forth, it's really hard to convince other individuals to continue to invest money in our community or attract additional individuals to invest in our community. And so I don't want anyone to misunderstand how important this effort is. So Manny, if you would please proceed.
Well, before I start, I would like to thank City Manager for all the trust put in our department to start working on this, and especially with council members. And I would like to introduce really quick some of the members of my team. There's Greg in the back. We got Robert is here today. Julia, the one that makes everything happen with graffitis and everything, Carlos. And we have our safety coordinator today with us that he helps out around the city, Randy. Thank you for being here today.
You left out the one person who's not here.
He's watching that, right?
Yes.
James. Yeah.
Yes.
He said he will be watching, so hopefully it's. I'm gonna go really quick. Most of it I have photos just to see what we've been doing. I know a lot of people will notice it. And like Tracy was saying, all those things that she's been doing and preparing to bring in, we're trying to make it look better so everything go with the flow. So On February 2022, I have the first ride along with Mark and his vehicle around the city, where we make sure we were in the same page, making sure that we have the same goals and everything. We spoke about it. And that's when we came up with the Keep Tulare Beautiful Conservation Beautification Initiative. And this is to kind of encourage the residents and employees to help clean a little bit more, take the time to stop and pick up trash if they see it. If they see a shopping cart, take the time to stop and pick it up. And actually, everybody's been helping within employees. And of course, the citizens will call us, the residents will call us and report it. And like Mark was saying, this is an everybody's effort, and I cannot put everybody here, but from code enforcement, graffiti, safety, facilities division, parks, streets, fire department, police department, IT department, everybody gets involved in this process to clean Tulare. How can I get involved? They always ask us. We just tell them, just call Josh and join Facebook and show and see what we're doing. When we do cleanups and alleyways and everything, we like to advertise it so they will see it. They can set up cleanups without us being present. They can volunteer to help the neighbors to clean if they don't have the funds or it's an elderly person to help them. And we've seen the information that we've been providing, they've been using it. And of course, reporting everything to our phone number that is in the screen. And one of the biggest thing is teaching them that Tricia, all her employees put a big phone number in the dumpsters when it's getting full, call to get picked up and a way to overflow. So actually they've been, well educated on that part. Funding is in-house. We utilize. Yes. Thank you. You're welcome. Funding is in-house using our own budget. We get budget for weeds abatement. We get budget for homeless cleanup that we share with Public Works, Parks, and everybody. So in-house. We are applying for a couple of grants. I'm going to talk about it really quick in a minute. And we're trying to work with Caltrans and a delegate maintenance agreement that almost every city up 99 involved with Caltrans, meaning that we clean it up and they'll pay us back. We take photos, we see how, do a expense report and we get paid. So we don't have to wait a couple of weeks or months of them coming in and fixing something like fences, not roads, but fences, graffitis, trash, before we have to wait until they show up. Now we're working on an agreement involving streets and parks that we all agree. So we'll clean it faster. We have communication always. We keep Bakersfield beautiful, keep Fresno beautiful, and of course Caltrans. And all this grant, it comes from Keep America Beautiful. So we've been talking with them. They're giving us the applications. We are filling out the application and see what we need to be able to come to council and for approval for the grant. So how we do it? We start really early, right, Carlos? 6 a.m. He goes around all the buildings in the city, downtown too. I seen John is here too. We always find John too at that time. Walking around, waking everybody up and kind of clean up so businesses can open right away. So that's a daily thing for us. And not only Carlos, but we have code enforcement coming at 6:30 to start early, taking care of calls or anything pending at that time. And we stay up to 4 o'clock or I'm 24/7. So we'll take care of business of that. And here you can see Carlos in action. We purchased with a grant these utility vehicles that help us go through downtown and different parks to help with the graffiti. We carry all the equipment inside. Graffitis, you just paint it, you turn around, there's a new one. So it's a lot of patience, and thank you for for the patience and go back and back and back to the same locations. And I know that they were talking, Josh asked me to talk about a reward regarding graffitis and illegal dumping, and we have that working with other cities. Robert is assigned to be working on that and getting all the information to you guys for a proper approval. It affects not only homes, but affects businesses. affects parks, and I like how our graffiti technician works with parks and they go and get together, they do it quicker. They share information how to clean it quicker, and then did a great job, but unfortunately, I think with this reward system, it will reduce those graffitis. Other things that we do that is not graffiti, this is in 99 and Cross. And if you've seen the walls around here, they were all different colors. Do you guys remember that? Pink, all the color. Well, this is how it looks now. It's just gray all the way. So there's no different colors or anything like that. Same thing in the south side is the same color. And that's what we're doing some parts of the city to start working on that. Restoration, of course, you can see on the left side how it used to be. And that's how after Carlos finished with that, that's how it looks. And we try to have the businesses keep it like that. Nighttime, we do lighting audit. We go outside, make sure our signs have the proper lighting. I know that was a big thing for Mark. So we keep an eye on that and we work with streets. We report to streets if there's anything wrong with the lights and they actually respond. And not only around the parks and our city properties, but outside in the actual street. Because with the homeless community, we have a lot of close calls, accidents due to lighting situations. We've been working on an abandoned vehicles, picking up RVs all over town. You guys seen that in the scrap yard. We've been working in abandoned vehicles too, especially in front of residents when they're on private property, and PD help us when they're on the street, and they're doing a great job helping us with that. When it comes to parks, it's not only parks responsibility. We walk in and we help to clean up. This is the underpass and Barsley, sorry, and it's even there, and Barsley, and it was really bad when you can actually drive and see all the trash in here. This is what it was in there. So not only this, but accidents, people getting drunk, falling into the streets. So we had that clean for a couple months already, and it's been successful. Now they started doing some vandalism that we're working on it on Thursday. Coming Thursday, we're gonna be working on that in Union Pacific, and PD is gonna be helping us in that area. We walked through the pedestrian bridge and Santa Fe Trail. You can find all kinds of things that they build the homeless to sleep in. Unfortunately, it's in the middle of the trail, so we have to discard it. There's no ownership around there. And we help the park ranger to enforce our new ordinance of not sleeping or camping and on our property. With that couple cleanups, I know that they have a contract, park have a contract, they come and clean it up. When we see it very dirty, Carlos will bring the car, he have all the equipment in the back, and we clean it really quick before everybody start using it. Good communication is crucial for us because we will not be able to find these locations inside pump rooms and everything. I don't know how they get in there. So this is in the Lago. So just to show you how it looks. One of the biggest things we've been working is alleyways, cleaning alleyways, removing illegal dumping, and all the departments get involved on that. And it's incredible how many residents come out to offer us water and bringing the kids to see the equipment and asking me permission if we can stop the equipment, like with Carlos, and they want to take photos with the equipment. And of course, we can turn it off and they take pictures, and everybody comes out and helps. And of course, we have code enforcement officers helping, and everybody gets together taking care of the alleyways. Here's a clear example of the before and after some of the properties around the city. Illegal dumping is one of the biggest things that we have. This is right next to the mall. So we try to patrol that area, make sure everything's clean, because that's where everybody comes into the city. We have streets helping us and couple reports of illegal dumping. I don't know why, but lately it's been so many mattresses that it's not here. And we continue the patrols during all kind of time to see if we see somebody actually dumping items in the site. Everybody blames the homeless community, and the homeless community tells me they come and drop us sofas and mattresses and everything. We don't want that. They keep bringing trash. So actually some of the residents. We've been working in downtown association that Johnny's been helping a lot and he's been cleaning. We've been helping with the graffitis and some painting and fixing up a little bit. It looks very nice if you guys been around there. And of course, thanks to the equipment that we have. We work with streets in the right of way and the Union Pacific area cleanups. This one is recent, about 2-3 weeks ago. And we actually have homeless individual helping us clean up their mess. They actually go out and give us a hand. Not only sitting down and seeing us doing the job like it used to be about 6 months ago. So they're helping us. Another thing I'm proud of is after meeting with Caltrans and we spoke about how we want to keep it clean and all the things that Mark was asking us, see how we can concentrate 99 too. They done a wonderful job. I don't know if you guys seen the difference between here and Tulare. When you take 99, how clean it is. They used to do it on a monthly basis. They do it almost weekly. And you see the backs and the sides. So you've seen what they've done with the airport. It's looking better. They painted the planes. And if go right now to the airport, you're gonna see everything clean. Not only us as the city, but most of the people in the airport been helping too. At no cost and not compromising anything. They go and help us clean it up. And we're forming a QRT team. And this is a team representing every department that will help us pick up the shopping carts and pick up trash in the side. The last minute being a little bit reactive instead of planning. And I know a lot of people like to planning, but sometimes when they call somebody from council and says, hey, there's trash in the middle of the road, it's road hazard. We have to go and take care of it. Now talking about code enforcement, and before I continue, I know it's a National Code Enforcement Month, so congratulations, guys. We'll go for lunch one of these days. Some of the things that we change is we needed some more approachable uniforms and how we look when we go to a house, when we go to a location. So we did actually change their uniforms. You're seeing right now, they have different color of shirts and actually we're seeing the results on that. More approachable and, communicating with us more when we are on the street. And of course, changing the look of the trucks. Now they know who's code enforcement. Doesn't say police, doesn't say city, just code enforcement, and they approach us more on the street. So who we are, code enforcement responsible for enforcing all the city, state, and federal codes, laws, and ordinances. We try to help all the citizens with all the calls that we get. We get citizen calls through dispatch. We get calls directly to us. We get emails. So we're trying to centralize everything. And we get an average from 300 to 320 calls for service a month, not including proactive and outreach cases. So it shows you how busy it is. So what we're responsible for. So like I was mentioning, trash, vehicles, anything that have to do affecting the property value, or when it becomes health and safety or general welfare to the citizens of Tulare, that's when we step in. And I have something here later on that we'll talk about it. One of the biggest one, California Building Code, applying those and checking that they are following the proper procedures. Some of the project scope that we have right now for work is making sure we document everything and document all the workload that we have, evaluate the service levels, what our needs are compared to the best practices, and how can we give a better service to the community. And we hear a lot of comments back from the community. And like, for example, when we call in, they said, oh man, I didn't know you guys were gonna call right away. Or they call at 7 p.m. and I answer the phone. That's how we wanna offer the community the services. Strengths is keep utilizing the quick response team in different areas, not just concentrating in the east or in the west. We divide the map and we assign some locations to different officers, or different days we all concentrate inside of the city. And to be in the same page with all the departments, we offer the code enforcement meeting that we have every 2 weeks in City Hall. And we always welcome anybody to attend the meeting if they have any comments. And of course, we show the cases, what we do and what we've done in those past 2 weeks. Outreach program that we have right now is using material in English and Spanish, easy to read, with proper graphics, answering questions so that whenever they come up. Walking around, just people exercising in Santa Fe Trail, they stop, they appreciate what we do, say thank you for cleaning up. They always give a lot of credit to parks, how they take care of business right away when they report it. And couple weeks, every 2-3 weeks on a Friday, 6 a.m., we take the ride through the whole Santa Fe Trail from side to side and check everything out, make sure everything is clean, no graffitis, and we take care of that right away. It helps us because we miss a lot of areas. Like for example, in here, this is 99 and the Santa Fe Trail. It helps us to see stuff that you cannot see from your vehicle or walking because of the distances. Clear example of working with Caltrans, how they fix this area here in Tulare Avenue. We work together with United Way, providing information for the homeless before Tracy started the program with Alexis and everything. That's what we had to do before. Alexis introduced us to the 211 system. And we see Greg talking to the homeless and everybody we talk to, he says, here you go, there's help for you. And we've seen the results. A lot of people with ADA disabilities and everything, they've been helped by 211 by calling this number. Enforcement, unfortunately, we would like everything to be pretty and go excellent, but there's enforcement parts where talking about the vehicles, overgrown vegetation, storage, brush, trash, debris, we always have those complaints. This is close behind Home Depot. We have to go and make sure they have the proper height so it won't impact the vehicle or it will impact people in the face. So those are kind of letters that we have to send out. There's some people like to keep trash in their house. We start working on this one because this fire took place about, I'll say 9 months ago. And actually fire were not able to get into the house to put out the fire because the amount of stuff they had inside the house. So now we're concentrating with the fire marshal, going to those houses, making sure it's clear and have a clear path for the fire department. But this is one of the clear examples. The gentleman listened to us, he called and he got assistance and he cleaned his place up. So that shows people that it's not impossible and it was done really quick. We do building assessments. We always invite the building official. We invite Michael in some of those. We want to have the engineer there too. And we go through a checklist that Mark has to have that everybody agrees to. And then we can tell the owner, or you're gonna repair it, or you're gonna demolish, but we cannot keep it up like that just in the middle of nowhere. So later on, we'll do more presentations regarding how many houses we have, not only in this, but receivership. That will be another meeting. Of course, they call us worrying about properties. When we don't take care of the properties, they start setting up encampment around. So we go clean it up and tell the owner if they can secure their houses. And we provide service to board it up and we send the bill. Here's one of the cases that they had. The renters call us, and when you walk in there, that's when you really appreciate going back home when it's clean. Is really bad, especially when there's kids involved. Of course, the illegal cannabis grow always bring a lot of hazards, especially the electrical ones. They just go to YouTube, watch the video and connect it themselves. So that's why they call us right away. It can be PD or the sheriff department, and our building, Greg, that is our building inspector, he goes and checks that out. We like to go after each fire because they go take out care of the fire. We want to see if there's any hazards left behind by the incident. And as we can see here, we go and help the fire department clean this up and make sure nobody's going to get hurt, and receiving calls to Janice from risk management and complaining about it. With vendors.
That actually was in county.
This one, yes, it was county and the fire department responded to help. And because it's the Santa Fe Trail, that's why we got involved, even it was county. With the vendors, we created this with Mario from planning. that this is what we give all the vendors every time, and actually it's working because we go in a special assignment on Friday, visit everybody. You see them on Monday in City Hall right away, trying to get their permits and getting everything to do legal business. And we educate people, especially yard and garage sales, when they set up by the ADA ramps. And we tell them, do you want a 450 fine or you want to go and pay $6 at City Hall? They just go City Hall really quick and pay the $6. A lot of wireless companies all over the city. We haven't seen any more fruit vendors lately or strawberry vendors. We were able to talk to the main person that brings them and leave them all over the place. They were not happy about it, however. When it comes to trucks, something I'm gonna work with Mario and Tracy is a sticker, like the county health department have a sticker that you can see when somebody, legal. Something that we can create in the city that shows and have a QR code that you can scan it and you can see all the permits, because a lot of times they forget and we have to wait there for 30 minutes, 45 minutes until somebody brings them. So it's an idea that we have in place. Vendors that they're repeat offenders, so we have to be there over and over and over on the weekends. And Mr. Harold knows that. We go and kick them out and they come back next weekend. And so we keep doing it. We don't give up. And this is when we found who was bringing everybody in. And that's when they start making comments about human trafficking and stuff like that. That's, of course, we direct that to PD right away. We have complaints about food poisoning, and we went and visit some places and they started doing this kind of business. This is in front of the swap meet. So we spoke to them, we gave them the information, and it says, yeah, we're gonna go for a permit. Next weekend they're back. But, we will deal with them. And it's not only daytime, we go at nighttime all over the place. I know Mr. Harold will recognize this photo, but actually now they're in the county line. So they're out of the city. Massage parlors, we close a couple of them because they didn't have the proper certifications, the employees, and other items that they have to comply with. Encampments, we visit some encampments during the weekend and we try to get rid of them. We have special days, Mother's Day. We have 25 people non-permitted. We go and check everybody else. We concentrate on commercial vehicles and residential area. So we go and talk to them for a year, maybe, and they start moving. And so far we haven't no issues with them. We have vandalism all over the city. I know parks suffer that, we suffer that, public works. But we have challenges that, questions that comes up every day. Like one of the biggest thing that we had is at what point we're gonna start putting something in writing about memorials like this around the city. When I worked for NDOT, it was a big thing because in the freeway, they go and put flowers and everything, and that fly to the freeway causing issues. So in here, those candles, they kick them, they break. Now you have glass, you're blocking the ADA access, and then the wax, when it's hot, is very slippery. So at some point, we're gonna have to visit this one and see how we're gonna do it. The next one is panhandling. I know that you have to be aggressive panhandling, and one of the sergeants, educated us on this. But my concern is still people running through traffic to get money, and at what point we can say something about it. So we continue working on this one. Vandalism, encampments is gonna keep happening all over the city. Trash, construction with no permits, environmental issues that the guys streets responded right away and help us with these environmental issues. With the RVs the homeless are using, we have to see where they are connecting to. So this is one of the examples that we asked the gentleman to move. We have to bring the camel and they had to clean that up. So we're gonna be working in a couple Tulare municipal code changes like abandoned vehicles, fences, shopping carts that you guys approved already, rental property inspections, trash and debris. So in the next few months, we're gonna try to bring one with Mark's approval for approving any changes on those. And so far, since February 2022, $30,000 in fines, and because we've been giving a lot of opportunities and chances, and what I heard from Mario over there in downstairs is that they actually people are going, getting their business license and everything. So he's helping us. So we're providing a great service. We're trying to expand the use of the automated code enforcement system, putting together, making sure that we provide good service, calling back the person and saying that we took care of business and let them know as soon as that happens. Relocating people, changing hours for employees to make sure we provide the service, the hours, and continuing the receivership and starting the tax roll system too on the near future. So thank you very much. I tried to do it quick. Mostly were photos. Anybody have any questions?
Very good. Let me do my
Okay, sir.
review, which is, does anyone in chambers have any comments related to this business item? Or does anyone wish to call in at 366-1849?
Oh,
Don't go anywhere.
I'm in trouble.
But he has to.
John Herman, Director of the Tulare Downtown Association. I just want to say, thank you for hiring this guy. Mark, thanks for giving him some free rein to do some things. We have gotten nothing but compliments on you and your team in downtown. They've done a great job. They're always there. I got Manny on speed dial, and he's a pleasure to work with. So thank you for putting this team together and getting these guys to work around Tulare. They're doing a phenomenal job. The only question I have is, what happened to your funding? How come Carlos is wearing blue jeans and not khaki pants?
He likes the jeans better.
So thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you. So just to close, this is, oh, go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
Any other comments by anyone in council, in chambers? Seeing none, has anyone called in? Very good. Did you want to make an additional comment?
Yes, sir. Actually, we have some token of appreciation for you guys. One of our officers decided
The ones that call and complain to you.
What's that?
We call and complain to you, and yet you're still going to give us something, is that correct?
Yeah, we have a special coin. Actually, Robert designed it. He draws really nice. He paints really nice. So we have one for everybody in the.
Very good.
You say,
Man, even Mario gets one, my God. Yes.
even Mario. Of course you do. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Well, we may not be done with you there, Manny. We're gonna go around and let's see if anybody's got any questions. We'll start with Mr. Issue. Any questions?
No, I really appreciate the presentation. Yeah, I think the only question I have is perhaps talk with Mark, maybe a meeting with you this afternoon. Would love to get a bunch of those Keep Tulare Beautiful banners. And would love also, I think, to start kind of a promotion of getting them out in the community. So I'll email staff just on that process and would love to get my hand on a bunch of those banners. Now, where we put them, we follow code enforcement rules.
I hope so.
Vice Mayor?
I just want to commend you and thank you for all the work that you do and your accessibility and your quick response, because you've helped me in my neighborhood as well. And I think, like the Tulare Strong campaign, I think we could do the same thing with Keep Tulare Beautiful campaign. Just like Patrick said, get this out and put it up, wherever we can find appropriate places to let the community know what you're doing and how much that's improving the quality of life within our city. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Mr. Harrell?
I never got to mention one thing. A couple of weeks ago, we were dealing with a food vendor at a particular location. They were out there on a Thursday and Friday night, and food on Friday night. Essentially shut them down. They were back on Saturday night. On Sunday night. Following weekend, I had to be out on Saturday night. About 9:30, 10 o'clock, and they were. took some pictures, sent them to Manny. Come to find out Manny was out of town and he came back, I believe, on Sunday. He drove by there, they were there. He goes home with his uniform on, goes back out and takes care of business. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome, sir.
Mr. Segal.
Yes, first of all, thank you all for your service. I think this is the most comprehensive presentation I've seen in the 6 years I've been here, and I appreciate all the changes that came from city manager about something as basic as changing uniforms and doing the trucks. So the one thing I'd like to ask, and I'll ask this later on in the agenda, is I'd like for there to be a study session on this because there's a lot of questions. I mean, I literally have about a dozen, but I won't go through them, but there's a couple of things that I wanted also to point out. I know that I think I talked to IT before in the past about, we have websites available for people to, file a complaint and also a phone number. What is the possibility of doing an application on the phone, right? Because I mean, I've seen cities do it, in particular when I worked in the city of LA, they had an app that allowed you to take a picture of abandoned trash and then geo marks it and it gets to you guys. So I know I've been talking, I think I talked to Jason when I became mayor years ago about that one issue. So that's one. The other thing is I appreciate the graffiti reward coming back. And that's something that I saw that will come back and show in the future. In particular, I brought it up a couple months ago when I think I started seeing the guy named Juan all over the place. And I talked to the chief about that. And so a reward to try to deal with that issue. So I'm glad it's coming. And then two things. Later on in the agenda, I will be asking for an agenda for you to come back and report on the food vendors. I've been here and I've seen your task force out there in that one place. It's just right around the corner from my house that there's been trouble with a vendor. So I just like to get some more information, a report on what's been going on with the vendors. Are there anything that we can do? I do know that there are some vendors that you may need to revisit the ordinance. We've made some modifications on that. So that's one thing I'll ask to be agendized because that's obviously a more thorough discussion. And then finally, the one question I have is, I do appreciate you talking about the abatement of abandoned vehicles. I've been trying to figure out what is the policy for boats? What is the policy, if any, do we have for people having small boats parked on the street or big boats parked on the street? I wanted to see if there is a policy, if we need to address that issue.
That's part of the changes we want to do because we still tow boats too when PD shows up and the registration is, couple years old. They will tow the boat if it's full of trash, of course. Those are signs that they're abandoned. So we do tow boats too. But to be more specific in private property in the houses, in the driveway and everything, we have to include it with the vehicles and RVs in the future, like recreational vehicles.
So, just I'd like to later on bring up the idea of a study session because there's a lot of more in-depth things.
Okay.
Well, along that line, there's a lot of these questions that issues come up. I'll call you, have direct communication, and maybe save some of the time. Even as far as counsel, your response time is exemplary. What you and your team does for this city and for us who are trying to do what we can to beautify the city are remarkable. And as head of this department, we're lucky to have it. So I want you to know that. And I think everyone who's involved with you sees your passion, sees your desire to achieve. And you need to know at times that you're appreciated. I want to convey that. You are making a difference in the city, and we recognize it. So, fantastic job. I mean, we all have our wants. When I mentioned to the city manager this afternoon, maybe this is not the place to do it, but when I go to Hamilton Pierce funeral parlor and drive by behind Walgreens, that whole encampment, I cringe when I think about all the other people that come to a funeral service and have to drive by. but we're working in the right direction to try to do something. I want your team to know we appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else?
I'd like to add, give a thank you to Manny and his crew, much appreciated, not told enough of the impact they make for us, and they allow our officers to be free on some other things. So much appreciated. I never get to take a ride along with Mark, so either in trouble or something.
Believe me, it was 2 notepads pages.
Come on, Mike.
Brother, I don't think Mark's is much.
Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so we'll move on to receive an update on the cooling center, and I think that's your item. Is that correct, Chief?
That's correct. As you guys know, back in April of this year, you guys voted to adjust some temperatures.
Can you get a little closer to them?
Is that better? As you guys know, at the beginning of the year, around April timeframe, you guys voted and authorized us to adjust the cooling temperatures to around 103 degrees and or higher. We operated the cooling center from June to September because Mother Nature was being a little ornery through the Labor Day weekend. 24 days is what we had through the whole summertime. And the recorded temperatures, we really only reached 103 to 104, 8 days after the events, due to obviously past the projection. 4 days we reached 105. We operated those centers from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Direct support from the Parks and Rec personnel opening it, and then with our security staff from AAA Security. Total cost about $4,900 for 24 days, and we're just looking for providing staff when we want to adjust temperatures back to the 105, or if you guys want to open up different time periods or different locations in the next season, next summer, so we're ready to go.
Thank you very much. I will open it up to any speaker who wants to give a comment as it relates to this general business item. You may call in at 559-366-1849. Is there anyone in chambers who wishes to give a comment? Mr. Harmon.
Again, John Harmon, Tulare Downtown Association. I'm curious, how many people took advantage of that this year?
1.
Okay, thank you.
I think he indicated that. Is there any other comment as it related to that, Mr. Harmon?
No, I was just curious what the.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone call in, Melissa? Yes, okay.
Yes. Hi, my name is Alma Serrano, and I'm calling just to clarify my phone call from earlier. For those who didn't understand me. Monday, during a free transportation at this time into the high cost of gas, getting hard for those to get around. And also, I have another concern on wondering that procedures are missing if the water route that is residential we're running out of water, what would be the best the city to address?
Melissa, keep her on. Did you ask her to hold on? You have a telephone number? Yeah, if you could get that telephone number and then Mark, somebody could get back and answer some of those questions.
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, we have no other comments as it relates to that. We received that update. Mark, anything else as it relates to this? What staff's position is? Chief, what? You're just giving us an update. Is that correct?
Yeah, the council recall when the council directed staff to make these changes, we said we were going to come back to you at some point in time with a sort of a debrief and update on how things went. That's what we're doing tonight. If council desires to provide additional direction as we get to enter, the season for the heating centers, the staff is open to receiving that, or council just wanted to receive the information and we'll continue to move forward.
And we, for clarification purposes, we have let the public know. Why don't you describe notification as it relates to the public at large?
Sure, Josh, do that, please.
John?
Mayor, members of the council, the city of Tulare does utilize social media very heavily whenever there is going to be an event. And the Facebook page, the Instagram page, the website are all used and focused exclusively on the opening of the cooling centers for those days. So more marketing could potentially be done, certainly, if that's your council's preference. But those are the primary paths that we use.
And I think we do that in English and Spanish.
English and Spanish, yes.
What about the homeless? What efforts are made to notify them of the heating and cooling?
There are no specific efforts that are made to notify the homeless. It's my understanding that most homeless individuals do have access to telephones, so there could potentially be the ability to access social media through those means, but no, nothing specific to homeless individuals. That's what we could look at as well.
Questions, Vice Mayor?
I do have some questions and concerns about the cooling and warming centers and why the homeless people, those people experiencing homeless don't go to these facilities. I believe that the Prosperity Ballpark was one of them, am I correct? I walk around that park every day. There was never any kind of signage or anything that said that that was open as a cooling center. I think that might be something. I really wonder why. So part of it is that, you know, they don't want to leave their sites because things aren't safe, but still, I think I would rather than say, let's change it. Let's look at how can we make this available, or why aren't they coming? Let's ask them and find out how we can accommodate some kind of humane cooling and warming centers for people who are suffering in the weather. I know California has good weather, but I get very warm and very hot when it's 103 or 105, and I get really cold when it's the low 60 degrees. That's the thing. I just wonder, I'm curious about why we open these centers. There's no advertising at the centers themselves. I don't know if the caseworkers that are working with these encampments have informed the people that they're available. So I just want to know more why they're not coming, and if that's because they don't want to come, or they don't know where it is, or they don't want to leave their dogs, or you know, why is it that they're not taking advantage of it? And I can't imagine sitting inside a tent at 105 degrees, even at 100 degrees. So humanely, I just have curiosity about it. I want to know more about why they haven't been effective.
Mr. Mitchell?
I think what's just been discussed by the staff and by Vice Mayor Sarah, the letters review usage, and we can get more. What can we do to educate the public more, get information out more to the public, especially vulnerable populations that this would serve the need. I think with that, and maybe from a risk management perspective of it, is that I remember times in the past of just communication that if we didn't do this, or others, is you have activists, you'll have groups coming before the council requesting this service. It was part of, I think, our conversation of mitigating how we facilitate this. And I get that, I touch on that a little bit because it seems a little bit of the debate of why we did what we did, and now coming back to one participant. But the part I guess I look at is we didn't have any deaths. And if we would a group come and complain and say, oh, you have the temperature at 104 compared to 103, there's always this back and forth. And amongst all the back and forth and amongst all the arguments is, I find a bit of peace that one, we had the centers open, we facilitated that process, we didn't have any deaths per se that came before the council. We didn't have groups blaming the city council coming for us. There was, I think, at a bid of $4,900, there was a peace of mind to the entirety and the normalcy of the situation. So I think with that risk of however different angles you use that, and we surely want vulnerable populations and those to utilize it, it is something I think we need to keep on the table, because all we hear, and I'll try not to be facetious, but in a serious nature, is that if climate resiliency and that our days are only going to get hotter and it's only going to get worse, is that with that argument is that this is also part of our climate resiliency plan to help our residents deal with the incredibly horrible situation we're going to be facing as the world burns up and goes to hell with the climate issues. I'm sorry, Mayor. I'm doing it like that. I apologize. I just think we're keeping this open. It served a purpose. And I think with that is we didn't have complaints towards that other spectrum that we didn't operate. And to me, that was worthwhile as well. All right. You're done? Mr. Scott.
Yes, thank you for the report. I just wanted to share with my fellow colleagues that one citizen was me who showed up one day. I called Josh to inquire whether only Queens centers were open. I'm pretty good on social media. I even got a TikTok account now. I didn't really see anything, in terms of what was being advertised. I drove by Prosperity Park, got one flag. I mean, if you guys want to get an idea how to advertise things, I invite you to go to the indoor swap meet on West and see all the flags that are up there advertising everything. So I think we need to do better advertising, something as simple as an A-frame that says, hey, this is the Queens Center that's open. I think it's not about being critical, it's just can we do more outreach? I went there, I parked, and I couldn't even tell the place was open. I walked in there, I didn't see nobody. I banged on the window and the security guard opened up and obviously didn't know who I was. I didn't expect them to know who I was. I walked in and I sat down and started having a conversation with them about, has anybody showed up, what's going on? And I'm sure you know what it is, the one citizen that came during the whole period. So I think it's important that we do our best and we start talking now about the warming centers. What can we do to advertise? We have a big grant that was given to all those folks that live on Centennial. Hey, letting them know. I'm glad to see there's a bus stop there. So maybe that's something to do with the agency. Free rides to people who want to go to a warming center, a cooling center. So I think it's worth the funds that we put into it. And yet, fortunately, no one passed away. But man, I can imagine not having anywhere to go after 10, 15 days of 103+ weather. You show something. You're out there. You have no air conditioning. You're in a car. You're in a tent. You have a sense of like, where the heck do I go to cool off? So I think we could do better. I hope that we revisit the outreach and advertising and put something out there that says this is a cooling center or a warming center. I think we need to just kind of take a step back and I would ask our staff and the fire department, whoever is going to take the lead, to start looking at the warming centers now. Let's not wait till December. Let's start looking at it now. Have a plan ready to go once we drop that weather. So, but like I said, I mean, I know it's important. I know we had a lot of discussion about it, and I feel comfortable as to what levels we have set in terms of when they open and get triggered. But I think we could do a little bit more in terms of the advertising. Thank you. And outreach.
Mr. Harold?
Nothing bad.
My last comments is, I agree that this is not a program to abandon. We as a city need to continue to offer this. What we do need is better. I will report back on what steps we'll make to make sure those citizens who need it can take advantage of it. When you indicate we need to do something else, it's on the agenda because we're going to do something now. I think that's correct. Is that correct, Mr. Mullins?
That's right.
So it was brought, you're the one that brought it to the attention, I believe, and immediately went on the agenda because we have heating centers coming up, warming centers coming up. So I think staff is taking it seriously and they're taking steps. And we'll just try to do a better job. Is there anything else to report on this? Do you think we need, does council feel like we need to come back with, let's see what happens during the winter time and then go from there? I see that wry look on Mr. Isherwood's face. Do you have any comment?
No, I won't go on any tangent.
You're good. You haven't talked to the microphone. You're going to make right comment.
You're gonna put me on the spot. No, I have no more right comments. Thank you for your patience.
Okay. Very good.
Mr. Mayor, can I take just a moment?
At 9:06, you want a second bite of the apple, is that correct?
I promise I'll be brief. But I just was doing something here while we were all talking, while you were talking. So there's, when you Google the city of Tulare, there's a lot of websites that come up, or, you know, Facebook pages or whatever. But one that I found has 654 followers. The Downtown Association, by contrast, has 10 times that many followers. So 654 followers, you only have about 1 out of 100 people who see that. So you're having maybe 6 people see a post on the city page. That's part of your problem. I think Councilman Segala is right. I think what you need to have is some signage. If you use A-frames, they're probably going to pick them up and haul them away. But I think if you had, if you sunk some posts in the ground and had some signage that you could change out, you know, like say with locations, times, that type of thing, that might work well, especially as you're addressing the homeless population. And then if you had wayfinding signage, arrows that point, you know, cooling center, warming center this way, that type of thing, I think that would help. And I think that's why the social media thing isn't working, as you just don't have enough followership there now. Right now, there's 0 active followers. And you have 654 people that are, you know, kind of following the page. I think that's where probably most of your marketing issues are coming in, is you just don't have enough followership there.
And I do think that's an issue that I'm surprised that we have that. We need to address that problem.
So our social media accounts, just earlier this year, so they're fairly new, and we've not invested as much energy and time in terms of further promoting them. We have a communications team that will have that conversation with others. Can we make a difference? We do, whenever we have to do the center, we do put together flyers and hand them out through our service providers to the homeless, but we do not go directly to them and have those conversations. So we've heard council out and clear. We'll, as an executive team tomorrow, do some brainstorming about what additional efforts can we put into place as we move forward into the warming center.
If any of those warming or cooling centers are, yeah.
How many followers does I say?
Followers as far as like downtown Visalians?
You indicated we have 600 and some.
Oh, you know, I didn't look at Visalians, but I could check it real quick, or anybody can. But I'm not sure how many they have. But one of the things is there's several pages that are listed as City of Tulare. So probably what's happening is it's diversifying the followers, where if you had just one common page, that might help, you know, consolidate all those numbers together. The only other thing I was going to add is if those warming cooling centers, if any of them are located in the downtown, let the Downtown Association know. Maybe, you know, maybe the board, I'm sure the board would be willing to help out with some wayfinding signage and things of that. And of course, we'll post it on our Facebook page and our websites. So happy to help. So yeah, I'm sure Donette would be happy to do that too. So thank you.
The mayor, if I can answer your question real quick. City of Visalia public Facebook page has roughly 16,000 followers. So I think to Mr. Harmon's point, City of Visalia also is only about 10% of the, I guess 600 in the city would be what, 1%? And then theirs is about 10%.
Again, I think if it was consolidated, I think your numbers would pick up.
Very good. Anything else on this item? Okay, staff updates and future agenda items. Let's start with Jason.
Nothing.
Tricia?
Just a few updates on some street work that we've been doing. I'm going to save one for Councilman Harrell. But Streets recently did some work on the northbound 99 at Page on and off ramp. We did some overlays on each side of the lane coming out, and the lane going in. We also widened that shoulder, so we had a lot of issues with the truck. So I drove it the other day and it's very nice and hopefully it lasts. The other piece is, as the council will recall, you approved a new striping plan at Tulare and Mooney and Kern to alleviate some of the traffic issues. And so we do have a contract for the work and it should be done within the next couple of weeks. So the fire department helped us out and they did a drone video of the before. We're going to do a drone video of the after. And so we hope to bring that to council so you can see the changes. So we're excited.
Thank you. Mike?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, as you recall in Tracy's presentation, she mentioned that we're getting a new Panda Express on Bardsley Avenue at Blackstone Street. Part of that project, they will be installing a raised median in Bardsley Avenue from Blackstone back to Highway 99, the ramp intersection. There's no way around it. That's going to be very disruptive to traffic. So I just wanted to put it on your radar to know that once construction starts, there is going to be probably some impacts to traffic.
So when you say that, does that mean when somebody heading southbound on 99 exits at Bardsley, they can't turn left?
No, it won't have any impact on the actual ramp intersection. That'll remain as is. The only purpose for the raised median is to prevent people eastbound on Bardsley Avenue from trying to turn left into the shopping center that's going to have the Panda Express. There's not enough lane length in the existing westbound left turn lane at Blackstone Street to also have people trying to queue in and turn left into that shopping center. So we're making them install raised median there to prevent that.
I've been told that same kind of problem exists at Mooney and Bardsley at the Jackson Box, where after people go through the stop eastbound through that stoplight, they trying to turn left into Jack in the Box, and that creates a potential hazard. Mr. Fisher would probably mention that. Yeah.
Yes, and we are aware of that, and what prevented us from having the raised median installed in that location. We need that property owned by the Uchitas, the larger commercial property back behind Jack in the Box, to develop so that we have the right of way and the paved width to be able to add a raised median at that location.
Diego?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd just like to inform you that the finance window continues to be closed from 12 to 1 due to, employee shortage. I know that we have residents who come in and go during that time, but we do have signage informing them that we are closed. We also have other payment capabilities, and I will inform council when we're back. Thank you.
John? No. President?
Nothing further.
Chief? Janice is gone? Chief? Chief?
Nothing to report. Thank you guys for coming to the National Night Out tonight.
Those of us who could attend. Janice?
I just do things really quick. A reminder, we'll have another elections forum on October 13th here in council chambers at 6 p.m. And then just a thank you to everyone, community, council, staff, especially staff, for the hard work for the past year. It's been a really great year for me personally to ultimately bring home, really enjoy being the city manager and will continue to enjoy being the city. So.
And it's a good time when you remodel your office. To give everybody the indication that you're here to stay. I like that. Andrew?
Well, I got my off-key environmental rant already done. It's complete. So no, with that is, I think just moving forward too, will just be maybe some additional sharing ideas or walking to kind of the agenda for our strategic plan in January. I know that will come. So I think some of the additional thoughts I will be sharing with the city manager, but kind of looking forward to as we put that agenda together going into that time.
Vice Mayor?
I think Councilman Segal has already alluded that he's going to ask for an agendizement of food truck issues and the criteria for getting a permit. And so I just want to specifically be sure that we look at the distance between food truck at event and also the distance of a food truck from an operating ABC license. So those are the two issues that my constituents have brought up. So I'll let you go ahead and say what else you want to say about that, but I'd love to agenda that.
You want a review of the overall situation. Mr. Harrell?
Fisher forgot to mention that the
I love it for you.
right hand turn lane is here from westbound Page to northbound Alpena. Manny is on my speed dial. Tricia is also on my speed dial. To the point that I think Gonzalo said he was going to give you the best in a hard hat. Spend more time with public works and street crews out here, the job that they do, which is a fantastic job. And I greatly appreciate everything that they do around here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Segala, it's your turn.
Couple of items, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I would like to also request with the Vice Mayor that we revisit the current street vendor ordinance to include the items that she mentioned about the how far trucks can set up from established restaurants and the other items, how far they can be from each other and any permit issues, just to revisit that ordinance. So I'd like to support that effort as well. Second, I'd like to also request the
Before we go on to that,
you want
sure, consensus.
Okay.
Put it on the agenda.
we'll just do that.
And this will have, just let me say my piece. I'm in favor of taking a look at it, but I am concerned that when we have one incident or one situation where we start modifying ordinances and we try to correct that one situation, we run into the danger of unintended consequences throughout the city that we may not. And we have to be very, very careful when that type of thing occurs. So from my standpoint, as long as we take that under consideration, that we have to be very careful when we start making these modifications. And I think we should take a close look at it. Commissioner?
No, I understand the context presented in Mr. Mayor. I appreciate you sharing that concern, and I share those concerns. I think part of it too, and concern that, so using that word a little too much, is this has been a 15-year plus discussion. And I know Tracy was back in those battles when it came before redevelopment and issues with that on the west side. And it's just, there's been a lot of years of meetings and review and discussion to the policy that we have and why it's at where it's at today. So I share your caution, but understand that it is a new day. But and if we want to bring it forward to that review, I support that as well.
Mr. Harrell?
That's what we're looking at.
Well, we have a consensus, Mark, to have an overview of this overall situation. And included in that is staff's and the chief of police a recommendation as to what the potential consequences are of making these kinds of changes, so we can evaluate that under the circumstances. And I think everybody's important. Okay, you got one, Mr. Scott. What's the next one?
Second one I'd like to request, Mr. Mayor and Council, is that we agendize a letter to Caltrans for them to consider establishing street signal on the intersection of Vineyard West. Obviously, that is Highway 137, and they would have to be part of, or they'd have to take a decision on that. So I'd like to agendize that we consider writing a letter to Caltrans asking them to look at that intersection of potential street signal. We are slowly moving up west. We have one on Tulare, we have one on Cross, we're gonna have one on Pleasant and one on Prosperity. And I think it's important to look at the one on Indian West.
Mike, do you want to update? Isn't that on their radar already?
They are currently conducting a study for the West Inyo from basically, from west to railroad tracks. And part of the most recent update I received from them was that they were looking at roundabouts, one at West Street, and then also replacing the traffic signal at East Street with a roundabout. It's all part of their conceptual plan at this point. They haven't brought those formally to us for consideration. But as they get further along in the process, part of the process will be to present that to council for your consideration and feedback.
So council, when we met with them a few months ago, if I recall correctly, Michael, I think they said they would anticipate, maybe this is just wishful thinking, but I thought they said they would anticipate coming before council before the end of this calendar year.
That's what they did say. It's been awfully silent.
So why don't we do this, council, if you're okay? Why don't we reach out to Caltrans and see if they're ready to come sooner than later? We'll get whatever information we can from them. They say if they won't be responsive to when they will come, we'll let council know. And then if you'd like, we can revisit the letter. But I think it will be important for you to hear their presentation and see it, because they have drawings. They have conceptual drawings that will show what we saw those drawings. So I think it'd be good for you guys to hear what they have to say. They can answer your questions and you can give them feedback on those drawings. It's more than just that intersection, it's the entire length of the roadway.
That would be better than 11.
No, I think that'd be great because I do know that they have always been resistant any changes. I mean, you have one stop sign, one crosswalk, and one signal from the railroads all the way out of town. So I'm glad to hear that they're open to something. But yeah, if we can do that, the intention is for eventually the city to go on record saying, hey, you brought this concept up, we really want it. So that's my intention. But if we need to go that route first, I'm okay with it in terms of you guys presenting to us what they are doing. But at some point, I just don't want to wait 10 years from now and they're still thinking about it. That's all.
Council, I'll reach out to Caltrans and let them know that you're of your interest and see where they stand.
Very good. And the last thing I have, Mr. Mayor, is I still would like to request a study session on the presentation we got from Manny, not necessarily on reporting specific things, like there's a port on this street that needs to be looked at, or other things in my district that need to be looked at specifically, but more on the policy changes that may need to happen. I know he's mentioned some that he may be bringing back, and so I wanted to have the opportunity. And it may not happen, like in the next month or so, but in the future, like to have a specific study session on that and review the policy side, not and in terms of what we can do better to address some of those issues. So that's the request.
Can that be incorporated in January?
No, I don't think we can incorporate it into the strategic plan session, because right now our thinking is that's like a 4-hour session, maybe like 8 to noon or something. We got a lot to go over. This type of topic, we need a special study session to get into the weeds on it. So my thought would be, I'll work, unless council feels otherwise, I'll work with Manny to we'll schedule a study session if it's okay, sometime after the first of the year. So maybe it's in mid-February, or we'll work around the act show. But we have a study session, 2 hours on code enforcement. We'll bring back draft ordinances on those topics that Manny mentioned to you. That'll give us a chance, and we'll give it to you in advance so you can read them, and that'll give you a chance to really sink your teeth into them. Plus any other things that you're thinking about. I want to do that anyways, because I think, he mentioned, let's say 5 or 6 topics. Like one's just like abandoned vehicles, parallel vehicles. We really need direction from council. Our ordinance is insufficient, and we need direction on where you stand policy-wise on, because we'll show you pictures. Is this abandoned or not? We need that kind of level of detail from you. So we want to do this anyways.
Okay. Can we leave it to staff based on the recommendation as opposed to?
Yeah, I mean, as long as we get the study sessions, it's going to be we understand the strategic one in January, then there's things that come up in February with the actual, but I think, because, I've been getting a lot more complaints about vote policy. I mean, what is a vote policy? I don't think we have one. Manny mentioned, so there are certain things that are happening now and address. So, yeah, I mean, I'll leave it to the city manager staff to bring that as soon as they can, but I think, I want to say it's pressing, but it is something that I think we should address as soon as possible.
I do have, just reiterate, I had mentioned it before, and I believe I had a consensus from council. I'm going to be working towards proposing in conjunction with help of the city manager, a more formalized procedure to put matters on the agenda that will be incorporated into our rules and guidelines. Basically, it's a submission prior to the meeting so that we're not in a situation that is probably borderline on Brown Act problems and something's brought up and then we spend quite a period of time talking about not whether it goes on the agenda, but sometimes we drift into the merit, and that's a potential issue. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Mario, and we will include, when Mark and I develop this, we will include Mario. And I want to make it very user-friendly for all of us. I believe we've been operating on this 3-item rule, which we should keep within the structure that I'm talking about, but it'll come back. I want it to come back within the next 2 or 3 meetings so that everybody will have the opportunity to review and find it acceptable. But I'll work with Mark in that regard, and then do I have any objection? No? Good. Fine, very good. We're done. I will adjourn the meeting.